evening, join us on this week's Loose Links for a load of fun and also celebrating International Women's Day this week. Join us on the show for chit chat and discussion. All that on tonight's show. Joining me, Nicholas James, our honorary woman for tonight, is Jason Lambert.
Hello.
Is Rachel Penny.
Hiya.
And Sue Craven.
Hello.
As we start our show this week, we talk about a celebrity that's been taken off Instagram for bullying. But we also talk about the Jeremy Kyle show, as bullying made him very popular in a well-known TV show that he had. So we have a bit of a discussion about bullying in the year of 2022. Also, we talk about fly tipping. No, I'm not talking about those flies that fly around Rachel all the time. I'm talking about fly tipping that happens in our streets and being jumped everywhere. So we'll be having a discussion. Should we be taking more responsibility for our own areas, or are we just throwing it at the council all the time? And we finish on the subject of East Lincolnshire being forced to fly the flag for Ukraine. But is this all too little, too late? Find out what we think. All that on tonight's show. Good evening, panel!
Ooh, hello.
Good evening. How are we all? I had a bit of a comeuppance then. I came on, but the wires got stuck under my chair. Just excuse me a minute. Literally, the wires got stuck. Right, there we go. I just don't want it to pull out and then the computer go off. Right. Good evening. How are we all?
Fine, good.
So it's good to see you back. It's been a while since we've seen your beautiful face.
It has.
So it's good to have you back. Oh, here's Rachel's. He's off already, look. First 2 minutes in, she's just walked off.
There you go.
Rachel, I've got to say, you're looking younger and very dapper. Why is that?
I was going to say, you're not going to be that complimentary to me, are you?
No, why are we looking a bit younger and a bit dapper? What have we done with ourselves? Facelift?
You're so rude, Nick. I don't know why I give you my time of day. Get on with it.
Well, Rachel has got a new pair of glasses.
Very
where
smart.
she doesn't think she looks like Anne Robinson anymore. But if you actually look what Anne Robinson looks like nowadays, apart from the short hair, Rachel has still gone with the style of Anne Robinson's glasses.
She has not. No,
I
she
haven't,
hasn't.
no.
I'll defend her.
I don't look
very smart.
It's
Oh,
still,
she's going.
as always, we can only see the top of your head.
You keep saying that. What am I supposed to do? There. Oh no, that's even worse.
We can see you a little bit more. Rachel is going to be our honorary poll results giver this week. So Rachel, tell us the polls of last week.
Well, that's a point. I did them, so I should remember them, shouldn't I? There was one about Piers Morgan. Love him or hate him, Mr. Marmite. Disliking him was 66%, and loving him was 34%.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one, Nick? It was about retirement.
Retirement.
Yes.
Retirement. It's not retiring from life. Not retiring from life, it's retiring from work. And 100% of you said yes, they agreed with that.
Well, we had a Piers Morgan discussion last week, but we've also had a Piers Morgan walk-off on this show, haven't we, Sue Craven?
That wasn't a Piers Morgan. That was because I was putting the light on.
I won't let you forget that. But let's do what we do best. By the way, happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. This week we celebrated International Women's Day. Ladies, did you do anything to celebrate International Women's Day?
No, but what I did do, I celebrated Down Syndrome Day
Oh,
by wearing, hang on, can you see?
Oh, your socks?
Odd socks.
Very nice.
Odd socks, yeah,
Lovely.
odd socks.
Very nice. I thought you were going to show us something quite indecent then, Sue. I nearly had to turn off the camera. I wonder what you were going to show us there, love. But let's do what we do best and have a bit of a chit chat in Lincolnshire's news this week. So we start with Kanye West has been suspended from Instagram for 24 hours after using racial slang in reference to comedy Trevor Noah. The rapper posted about him after he said Kanye's actions towards his ex-wife Kim Kardashian were terrifying. Kanye has been criticised for repeatedly posting remarks about Kim, their children, and her partner, Peter Davison. Meta, which owns Instagram, says the rapper violated the platform's policy on hate speech and bullying. So, do you think that that bullying comes from insecurity, and do you think it leads from being a victim yourself?
It can do, but I think it comes from the experiences they've had in other ways. If they've been unhappy or they've seen bullying within their home or among their friends, I think that often can lead to. And also, I think it can be a bit of envy. You know, his ex-wife's moved on. She's happy. The children are happy and settled. And I think it stems from that as well.
Anybody want to jump on that?
Well, I think it's how you're taught, isn't it, really? And you know, bullying can come from no end of things, but family life, if you've got a stable, nice, happy family life, it can, you show kindness through the acts of the way you live your life as you're growing up. But I don't think if you are bullied necessarily, you go on to bully. I think you've got probably a little bit more empathy with other people and than that, because you first-hand experience. I had a little bit of a bullying session when I was younger, and it just terrified me. I can remember I was at the park and two girls came round me and I was on my bike and they liked the friend that I was with, but they didn't like me. Goodness knows why. And she kept knocking her ash off her cigarette into my hair, and I was terrified. I just thought, keep with this girl that I know because they like her. And I got on my bike and I pedaled as fast as I could home. I was only about 12, but that didn't make me think, going to be similar to somebody else. I just thought that was terrifying.
What about your husband, Jason? Did you say before that he's in education? Has he ever talked about how he's dealt with bullying and like bullying episodes where he's had to deal with it and be part of it?
Not really, because he teaches reception.
Right.
Children. So it's at that point, it's not really bullying as much as just teaching them how to actually be friends with each other and share and things like that. So that's not really that form. I mean, I was in education. I taught 11 to 18-year-olds. You have the odd bits and pieces by that, but you just have to be so careful because you always have to listen to both sides of the story, then try and work out a way of moving forward with it. But I think Sue's spot on that if sometimes people are bullied at home and then they pick that up as a means of behavioural pattern, as opposed to they don't think it's bullying because they've seen it at home. They think it's the way it's done, and I think it's learned behaviour from parents sometimes that cause the problem there.
But even in reception, Jason, you get children, which, as you said, sharing. That is a kind of a way of being dominant,
Yeah,
and all the toys. And if they learn how to share and to integrate with other children, it starts from a very young age.
yeah,
Do you think, go on, Jason, go on.
yeah. I mean, they teach them how to share, and they tell them if they won't share, that they share them. They teach how to share. They do that kind of thing, and that is a way of trying to get people to understand that people have got to share and be part of something else.
Do you think it starts from, let's go over to you, Sue, because I didn't realise Jason's husband was in early years as well, and Sue's been in early years. Do you think that you have to start putting the foundation of how you treat people now?
You do, and I
with
mean,
children?
there's it within the foundation. I mean, Jason will know this. It's PSED. It's called Personal, Social, and Emotional Development, and you have to teach them to care for others, to respect others, be it human beings, be it animals, be it insects they see in the garden, that they don't trample on them or whatever. And that's all part of it. And it does go a long way. But if they're seeing none of that respect or hearing none of that respect at home, this is where it can often lead to later life bullying.
And I bet schools feel that let's go to both of you. I bet schools feel they're right between a rock and a hard place when you're trying to teach children how to treat people and how, but if the same thing isn't coming from home, that's very different to school, you're never going to get there, are you? It's always going to be an uphill battle. Do you agree?
And you hear parents, when you're out, even in the supermarket, you hear the way sometimes parents talk to their little ones, and and shout at them and swear at them, and you think, well, how are they ever going to learn to respect? And when we hear that, and that's the norm for them, it's very. I mean, I've been in places sometimes, and my husband's had to walk me out because I've been when I've heard somebody shouting at this little child in a pushchair, and I wanted to go and sort her out, but my husband said, right, get out of here quickly, because you just think that child's hearing all of that and experience all of that. How are they ever going to learn to respect? How are they ever going to learn to be kind, caring? Hopefully the influences of early years, we can help then, but it's hard.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? And Rachel, as a parent, did you ever have to deal with your children being bullied, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, my son was bullied, but it was possibly, the thing is, you go on instinct, and you don't want your child to be hurt any longer than has been done already. So what happened was, there was a young boy in his class who was a lot smaller than him, but he had a certain problem. He was deaf, and he got quite frustrated. And he used to put my son on a peg when he used to come out of the porter cabin and get his coat at night. They'd go to a table, and they put him on a peg. And then, but one day, when it came to the peak of it, my son was there drawing something with a pencil, and one of the lads pulled him back on his chair. And as he came back, he stabbed him with his pencil. He leant backwards like that. My son did. Yeah. And but the teacher saw it at the right time, and so Adam didn't get into trouble. But he went. The parents came in of the other boy, and it was all done quite amicably. But the next day, he was made to feel quite bad.
Your son was made to feel quite bad.
Yeah, he was made to feel quite bad by the so-called head of the school at that particular time. And if he was mortified, he'd let himself down, he'd let the school down. And that was...
That's what the head teacher said.
Yeah, he wasn't a head teacher for long, actually. Anyway, I just went into school that afternoon, and when my son said that, I said, he's not coming back here. He's going to another school tomorrow. So he did. But that was the worst thing, really, I could have done. Well, not the worst thing, but I didn't know what else to do. I did the best thing. I didn't want him to be at that school. But then all the rest of my son's life at school, he felt possibly guilty that he'd done something wrong because he had to leave that school. But so it ruined his school life, I think that did.
I'm not surprised.
I just did what I thought. I wasn't going to have him at somewhere that had principals like that.
No.
You know, and the way they handled it, it was disgusting. It was terrible. But that was years and years and years ago now. My son's 30 odd. No, when you do something like that to a child that's about 7, then it sticks here, and you don't know what damage you've done.
No.
Let's go to you, Jason. Do you think we've got no hope in stopping bullying when we have celebrities and politicians doing it every single day?
I think it makes the life of people who are trying to deal with it, teachers, university, people like that. I think it makes life very difficult because they see their people they look up to doing it, and it seems to be okay, and nobody really says anything, or they're just meant to apologize and that's it. I think it makes everybody else's life very difficult because we can't eradicate it from celebrities because they'll do it all the time. Politicians are just like children, but there's nobody to control them. I mean, look how many times Sir Lindsay Hoyle has told Boris Johnson off for using the defamatory language in the House of Commons. Stop doing it because he's inciting people to bully other people. It's very difficult to stamp it out when they're seeing both parents and celebrities and people they look up to doing it. It becomes part of culture. It's a bit like in a football game. They see that, it kind of works its way down to youth football as well. So it's very difficult.
Do you agree, ladies?
Yes. And I also feel these days it's even harder because, like with bullying at school, it used to be my children, when they went to school, and I certainly didn't have mobile phones or anything. So if they'd had a bad day or something had happened, you know, my daughter had experienced some bullying at secondary school, at least she could come home to a safe haven, and there was no mobile phones. But now they all have their phones, and the kid continues. You know, I've heard of one of my neighbours, her daughter, something happened at school, but of course then it's on Facebook, and it doesn't stop. So home doesn't become a refuge unless you take that phone off them, but then they still see it at the end. You know, that's hard. It's
hard, isn't it? And I think as well, when celebrities and politicians, let me go back to that statement, when celebrities and politicians have made a huge name for themselves, but actually out of the act of bullying. Now, there's many other TV programs available, but I did ask the panel, apart from Jason, you're let off this, but I did ask the panel to watch Death by Daytime, which is behind the scenes of the Jeremy Kyle show that was on a couple of years ago. Now, ladies, did you get a chance to see a little bit of it?
I did. Did you, Rachel? Because I didn't see your message till today.
No,
sorry, did you manage to see it?
No, I just Googled it and I only watched half of it. He's Jeremy Vile, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Awful man. But how long did it last for? 12 years? How could it have continued for 12 years if all these
because it wasn't only him. I think they thought it was all about money. You know, they were getting good ratings, it was good for the television. It doesn't matter about these poor people. It's tragic.
And when some of the people there as well, to keep a job and to keep a living, even though they were living their best lives, everybody that worked there actually said, because I watched both of the programmes, everybody was saying, I lived my best life, but I had to sacrifice everything. So there was people there that were saying they would have to work till 5 o'clock in the morning and not leave their desk. And their jobs were, obviously it's one side of the story, but their jobs were to rile people up, to get them cross, to get them angry, to make entertaining TV.
Well, how can they say, sorry to interrupt, but how can they say they were living their best life if they were doing that?
Because of the money, Sue. Because of the money that we're receiving in their paychecks, they could get the designer handbags, they could live in the most smartest apartments. And everybody was amazed as soon as they said, I work for the Jeremy Kyle show. It was a massive thing, wasn't it? It was huge, the TV programme. And what really upset me is how we did it. So on the discussions, there were the lie detector tests that said they would give the wrong results to give entertainment TV. So they would say they had lied, and when they had gone for their own DNA test properly, it came back as telling the truth. And what really upsets me is I really enjoyed the Jeremy Kyle show. I was a real big fan of the Jeremy Kyle show, but I think he is just pooped on Trisha Goddard, who did it from the beginning. Can you remember the Trisha show years ago?
Yeah.
And she put the foundation there of real life and getting people on and talking and giving the best results. And he's just gone, well, actually, to get more viewing in this test, we need to say they're lying. And like, I used to sit there and think, oh my goodness, I used to cry at some of the programmes when you watch Jeremy put somebody in a car to go to rehab. But what you found out behind the scenes is they were told as soon as they entered the building, there's 4 other contestants, you've got to fight for that place. Even though they never needed to fight for the place, because the place was there, they were told to fight. So how can we say to the world, we need to stop bullying, when actually celebrities are doing it and politicians are doing it to make a name for themselves?
I know. Well, hopefully it'll stop now with him, you know, well, not like that, but hopefully a show like that will never be allowed to be aired again.
Well, he's saying, because I heard a little bit of Jeremy Kyle at the end of it, and he's saying because of this, because I can't believe how many people died from the show as well. We're not just talking about going into mental health state, we're talking about taking their own lives over the show. And he's basically saying he's not saying a word to the camera. There's 2 sides to every story, but he's going to wait for this case to be over about, you know, the guy that took him off air is still going through. It hasn't completely been decided. As soon as that's been decided, he's going to step forward and say his part. Well, I'll tell you something, ladies and gents, I won't be bloody watching. I will not be watching. There's lots of my respect.
Didn't he get a massive payout as well?
Yeah. For leaving the show. And it's like that woman said that was on the show. She said she'd lost her husband and she'd lost this and she'd lost that. And she showed him a clip on a radio clip afterwards, interviewing about the Jeremy Kyle show and taken off air. And he said, I just wouldn't have got by if I didn't have a beautiful wife and the children that I had. All that I had going through my mind is, what about the people that have died, Jeremy, that you've sent to their deathbed? They haven't got a husband or a wife or children to go back to because of what you did that thought was entertainment. I just think it should be struck off now. I just think, no.
Why is there a court case going on? Why is there a hearing or anything like that? Because against the man, he was filmed doing all the vile stuff, and he didn't care. He was filmed. But the arrogance of it is just it's damning. Anyway, I don't know why it's going through the case that it is going through, but he should never be allowed on TV ever again.
No, he shouldn't.
Well, they interviewed Graham as well. You know, Graham, the aftercare man, the aftercare team. They said to him, You watched how Jeremy spoke to people. Why didn't you intervene? You were aftercare. And he was like, I can't control the presenter's behaviour. I can only control my behaviour. Well, actually, you were given a hell of a lot of bloody money, I nearly swore then, bloody money to do aftercare. How are you doing aftercare when you are watching somebody drag somebody into the ground? I don't understand it. I don't get it. But nobody dared say anything on set. They wanted to say stuff, but as soon as anything got out, they were sacked. And they lost everything. And you were seeing these people destroyed, like the people that worked for the Jeremy Kyle show that was doing 15 hours at a desk and not allowed to go to the toilet or not allowed to go for lunch or not, they had to keep working. And they said, and it sounds awful, doesn't it? But they said it was like a grievement when the whole show closed and shut down, because they had nothing else in their life but the Jeremy Kyle show, because that's what they were doing day in, day out. I just think, I don't even have time for them.
But Nick, would you? I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't go. I'd have more scruples than that. If I felt really bad about doing a job, I wouldn't do it. And
however much I was paid, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. No way.
Well, it's difficult to answer that, isn't it? Because the thing is, if you're getting, Rachel, say like you've got no money worries for the rest of your life, and you're getting designer bags, and you've got the biggest house with loads of stuff, and everything you've ever dreamed of is right in front of you. And for that to happen, you have to keep your gob shut, or you lose everything.
No, I wouldn't do it. No, I wouldn't do it.
I'd walk away.
I would walk
I've
away.
done it. I have walked away.
If it meant
that
if you
from
see
where I work.
If somebody's life is going down the pan and it's detrimental to their health, I wouldn't. I couldn't live with myself.
No, I couldn't.
No, and I know me, so I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but let's go on to the third one. Chris, it was Chris, so that means it's you, Rachel. Do you think we are born nasty, or do you think we inherit it?
Well, inherit it and born, or taught it. I think you can be taught to be nasty. I don't think you're actually born being nasty. Some traits can be stubborn and things like that, and that can be manifest itself as in later life, possibly where you gain the traits of parents, possibly. But I think it's taught. Nastiness is taught. You're not born nasty. We're all, it's. I've never known anybody that's really nasty.
I think we're stuck there, Rachel, in this whole way. I slightly disagree with you, because I only slightly disagree with you because when you watch, I'm really into documentaries. I really love watching documentaries into the life that I hope and pray I never go into. So like Life on Death Row and stuff like that. There's many documentaries you can watch, and 2 children have been brought up exactly the same way by a parent. You hear this so many times. I brought up my children exactly the same way. But one child turns into a murderer and another child turns into somebody that makes themselves very, very successful, and they're living their best life. Are we then blaming the way they were brought up, or are we then thinking about, is it more influences that are around them as they grow, or are we going back to the parent? Which way do you think we should go?
The thing is, you say these parents are saying that brought them up exactly the same. You don't know what these children or people have actually witnessed. They're not going to see life exactly the same. They could be jealous of one of them. They could see something on TV. Yeah, there could be a mental imbalance, I suppose. It's not a normal thing for somebody to go out and murder somebody, to kill somebody. But I really don't. I think it could be a medical thing. So when you're born, possibly, yes, you could say that but not born nasty in a way of being nasty. If you're going to be a murderer, then there's something psychologically wrong, isn't there? So that is more of a medical, not just born nasty. Do you get what I mean? I don't sound very eloquent tonight, do I? So
do you agree, ladies and gents?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's born nasty, are they? When we come into this world, we don't actually know anything about the world, do we, when we're born? As we grow, we learn, and it depends on how we are brought up as we are going through it. I think when people say the schools didn't do anything, the schools didn't do this, or the schools didn't do that, I think it's very unfair, because it's got to be taught from the parents before they come to school, because we can only do so much. We look after a child for like 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and we have them maybe for a year, and then they move on to another teacher. We can only do a certain amount. We cannot discipline, we cannot teach that child how to live. That has got to come from the parents and just work through school as well. But when they blame the schools, I always sit there and just go, what do you want the teachers to do? They aren't parents.
No.
What happens then, Jason and Sue? You're in the teaching side of things. What happens if you actually do tell a parent that you're the first one to actually witness a child with certain behaviour patterns, and they're not quite right, maybe autistic traits they show, and you bring these to the parents? How many parents actually take on board your expertise and carry and seek help for that, or do parents take it as a something detrimental to their parenting ability? How is it treated?
Some will take it on board, and some will deal with it from you just saying, look, we think there is an issue here, but other parents will take that as detriment, and we are saying that their children are bad or because they have not done anything. But some parents will take it on board and will listen to you, and obviously there is protocols in school where we can actually flag it to our team leader or to our SEN, and then they can deal with it through the special educational needs program, and they can deal with it that way and talk to parents. But they always do find it slightly difficult if you try and tell them that their child is bad.
Well, I've had parents that have said, right, you build your case. As Jason said, you build your case, you have your evidence, and then you call them in for your meeting and you say, and I'm talking about early years, so these are your little ones. Now, we all think we have the perfect child, but what is a perfect child? That's what I'll say to you first. And if you say have a child that you know is on the autistic spectrum or whatever, has problems, you do your observations, you get your experts in if you can, if you ask parents, and then you have your meeting. But you'll find, I always used to say to my parents, and I found that it was the daddies very often that found it harder to accept than the mummies did. And I used to think, I remember I've had many a dad, and they've come back to me afterwards and apologised. I've had dads walk out on me. I've had dads being very rude, because it's such a shock. But then, as I always say, what is a perfect child? If your child is on the autistic spectrum, that's still a perfect child. It's just in a different way. And I think it's very difficult. It's the same with learned behaviours. No child from conception to 5 are the most vital years. Conception to 2 really, but then on to 5 are the most vital years for those children to form their characters and to form so as we said, we're going back to what we said, if they are living in a home where they see a lot of aggression, they hear a lot of negativity, that's how they become how they are.
Tell us what you guys think. That was a very interesting discussion, and how discussion leads in many, many directions. But tell us what you think. Do you think looking, if you haven't watched Death by Daytime, we do recommend that you watch it. Please watch it. But do you think bullying is better in the year of 2022? Do we need to be facing it a little bit more? And do our politicians and celebrities need to be people we look up to and not down to? Please have your say. Remember, you are the fifth panel member out there. There's many ways you can get in touch with us. Facebook page, Facebook group, Instagram, TikTok very soon. Zoe's taking over our TikTok. Looselinks@gmail.com, www.looselinks.co.uk. There are many ways, and please join in with the polls. Your say is just as important as ours. Now, a friend of mine said to me earlier this week, that the show needs to be a little bit more light and fluffy. So I've thrown in two little topics here, quite small little topics that just are here to make us smile. It's not really to make a discussion. It's just to have a little bit on the edge. So I want to talk about, has anybody seen the celebrity show Celebrity Starstruck, which is a show that was taken over years ago of Stars in Your Eyes. It's a new version of it where three people be the same person. So if they choose Ollie Murs, all three of them come on and sing, and the best one is chosen and goes to the final. So, Sue Craven, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you were a contestant in Stars in Your Eyes, and you were walking through those big doors, who would you come out as?
I've no idea.
Come on, think of your favourite singer. Who would you come
Ed
out
Sheeran then. I'd come out as Ed Sheeran.
as? Ed Sheeran. You were giving some Ed Sheeran. What about you, Jason?
I'll tell you I'd be Adele.
Adele. Never mind. All that business. Jason, I'm sending you through the doors now. Jason Lambert is...
Oh, God, it's loud.
Tony Christie.
Who?
Tony Christie.
Tony
Oh,
Christie.
yes.
Mr. Amarillo. Rachel Penny going through those doors is coming out as...
Well, I look like Ed Sheeran when I've had a shower. There's all everywhere. I don't know. I'll be Bungle to your Zippy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But you'll always be my Anne, so don't worry about it. But I would come out as... Who would I put? A Cher. I think I would do
Yes.
Cher.
I could see you.
Because you see the hair and everything. I could do
No,
a bit
you
of
pair of
Cher.
fishnets.
Yeah,
And the Basque.
yeah, that's disturbing, isn't it? Seeing him in fishnets. I think you'd wear them well, actually.
He would. He's got a good pair of legs.
Tell you something, Rachel, I wear them better than you would, love.
How do you know?
Oh, I've seen it. Can't you remember last week? I saw you on the street corner. I gave you a wave.
Oh, you're so rude. Now stop it. That's slanderous, that is. Remember all this, you two.
We will.
Right, topic 2, let's get back on the subject. Topic 2 is mobile cameras bought to catch and fine fly tippers have not been used despite approval being given a year ago. So let's go to you first, Jason. When it comes to fly tipping and just dumping stuff in the ground anywhere you like, do you think it's all down to local authority to sort out, or do you think that we need to start taking responsibility in our own towns, cities and villages?
This is very difficult because when we had tips and things that people could go to, we didn't have as much fly tipping. Then they started charging for you to take waste to them, and people stopped doing it. And then they started moving them out of the towns and cities to a long way away, and people just don't want to do it. I mean, yes, we've got to take our own responsibility. Where I live, there's a set of houses opposite and mine, and there's an alleyway in between the two. And there is a lot of things get dumped in that alleyway. And I rang the council, and they said it's not our responsibility. And I rang the local housing association, who said it's not our responsibility. So I actually paid for the land registry and found out whose land it was, and then rang them and said, come and do something. And they said, it's not ours. I said, do you want me to show you the land registry documents? I said, because it is yours, so do it. And strangely enough, the following day they were here clearing it.
Mhm.
Do you
Has it
agree,
happened
ladies?
again?
Sorry?
Has it happened again?
Oh, yeah. And I've rang them again.
No.
Do you agree, ladies? Do you think that it is partly down towards doing something like Jason saying and being there, or are we always just passing the buck on the local authorities? They'll sort that out. That's not my problem.
That's what they're
Well,
paid for, isn't it?
That's what
they-
I think. That's what you pay your rates for.
Yeah.
The
Well,
thing
Yeah,
is,
but the
if-
thing is, what about taking responsibility and pride in your own place where you live?
yeah, but you
I get
do. You take responsibility your own, and you take your own to the tip, and you sort that. And I'll go litter picking in the village very often. But why should you go and do? Where would you take somebody else? If somebody's fly tipped, how can you sort it out?
Would you
Because,
confront
as
somebody?
Jason said, pardon?
Would you confront somebody that you saw fly tipping?
No,
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't, because
No.
I might get a biff, mightn't I?
What's the this?
I'd take a picture,
Would you? Yeah.
take a
Don't
photo.
take a picture.
What the worst thing that I hate, the worst thing I've seen so many times, you're up at traffic lights and somebody just goes like that out the window,
Yeah.
drops the contents of their car out the window and then drive off. I hate that.
Mm.
Now, what do? You can't do anything, really.
No, well, I was walking along the bypass, the new bypass towards from Cherry up to Washington, and rubbish along there. You know, cartons, McDonald's stuff, cans. People have just thrown it out the car windows.
I
I
noticed
think-
that actually after the winds, when the winds, it was strewn everywhere. So maybe that could have been something that just came out of a bin somewhere.
I agree
don't
with that,
know.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Once a week, I have to go onto my drive and clear it. Once a week, there's crisp packets, papers, there's cartons, and it's all just blown in the wind onto. So it's not always people's fault. I know. I get big fly tipping is people's fault. But when someone puts a bin out and there's gush of wind, do
Yeah,
we
that's different.
just go right? We leave that for the council and we leave that for the bin man?
No, you pick it up.
Or would
Yeah.
you, even if it wasn't your bin, would you pick it up?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
would.
Yes, I would.
And it's funny with rudeness. I don't know if I've ever told you this story before on the show, but it's one of my favourites. I was with a friend in a car, and we were. It wasn't you this time, Rachel, but we were in a queue.
Oh, you know another friend with a car.
I know, in a queue for the McDonald's thing, and this guy behind, I can't stand rudeness. This guy, beep, 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 all the time we were going through. And I was like looking out the passenger side window going, what do you want us to do? We're stuck in this traffic jam. You'll have to wait. And my friend said, I know what I'm going to do. So she pulls down the window and she gets her dinner. And she says, what I'd like to do out of the kindness of my heart is buy the person behind me dinner. So I'm going to give you some money now. Whatever he orders, it's completely on me. And I was looking at her going out going, why would you do this to a guy that's been rude to you all the way? Well, I want to do it. So she puts the money on, goes to the next window, but takes her dinner and the dinner behind. takes the order from the guy behind and waves him off as she drives off. Oh, that was the best story ever. The best story ever. Jason, do you think we are too heavy on responsibilities for our councils these days? Because we have views like Sue, which I'm not saying is completely wrong, but we have views like Sue where people will say, well, I pay my taxes. Are we always just going to use that excuse, or are we going to take responsibility for our own cities, towns and villages?
Well, alongside that, I'm with Sue entirely. We pay our taxes. We pay for the police. We pay for the refuse people. We pay for the council. We are paying every year. It goes up between 2.9% and 3.9%.
Yeah.
We pay an extra £200 towards the council for their responsibility to actually deal with their situation and they're getting money from the government to deal with things. That is their job. That is what we pay them to do. We
It's
don't.
not our responsibility, is it? Where people fly tip, it's not our
No,
responsibility. It's
it's
not
not.
our fault.
No,
They
it's
have to
like
bark
it's like
themselves.
saying I've got a dog, but I'll bark myself rather than the dog bark. What's the point?
Yeah.
Of it?
But ladies and gents, we are very lucky. We are, and this is what I think people forget, we are very, very lucky to have a local authority that we pay to sort stuff out. I've been to Africa, right, and they have a local authority, but nobody does a thing. They still pay their taxes, but they go on their hands and knees, day in, day out, doing the best they possibly can do to make their village or their hometown or their street amazing. I just think we are too privileged. We are completely and utterly too privileged, and we seem to forget about that, and we seem to think, well, pass the buck all the time. I'm waiting for somebody to go, actually, I found the council, but I'm going to do my bit now. I'm going to take pictures, I'm going to clear up what I can possibly clear up, I'm going to pick it up in the bin and stuff like that. But I think we're privileged snobs that just go, well, council tax pays for that. I'm not doing
Don't agree with you.
No, I
Don't
don't.
agree with you.
I don't.
I think we all take responsibility. We all take responsibility. All of us here have all said we do. We pick up anything that we see, but fly tipping is totally different because that's huge things. How can we take responsibility for
But the
that?
thing is, those people are not learning, are they? Because all they know is that they can, if they're not found out, so they're told now that if there's an address there, if there's this, that it can be linked back. But they know for an absolute fact, wherever they dump their stuff, the council's going to pick it up. The council are going to go around and pick whatever fly tipping they've had up. So how do we stop it? What do we do to stop it?
Well, the thing is, why is it our responsibility? We look after ourselves, we look after our own, we pick around our community. But these fly tippers, fly tipping is a huge thing, and usually it's an industrial scale. And so if there are some regular places, which there are, some hotspots, then yeah, get them monitored, get them you know, somebody to patrol them or put cameras up, you know, or
I think cameras.
But
Yeah,
ladies, you
cameras.
would be the first to complain if the council brought out we are hiring council tax because we need to put cameras in more places and cameras cost. You would be the first to moan about your council tax
CCTV
being
everywhere.
raised.
There's CCTV everywhere watching what people do.
Not
So-
everywhere, they're very sneaky. Not
What do
everywhere.
what do you think then, Nick? What would you do?
Well, I don't know, but I just think that we need to find another solution because the thing is, I agree with you. I agree that it should be the council picking it up. But if people know that in their heads and they can't get it to a tip and they know what they have to take out of rubbish to make the council pick them up, what are you going to do? What are people like that going to do? They're just going to carry
More
on
fines
doing
then.
it.
Not
Bigger
the case.
fines or imprisonment. There's 5-year imprisonment for fly tipping. They should send them to prison if that's what it takes. It's more of a deterrent.
But how are you
Because
going to catch them if they
we
make sure?
Cameras.
We get less for our council tax. Council tax goes up every year, and we get less for it. And so they ought to, if it's a big problem, they'll have to sort it out themselves. It's not down to you and me and Joe Blogs. It just damn well isn't.
You're right.
Part
We
of
look
your
after
council
our
tax,
own community.
part of your council tax goes towards the police and crime commission. So if they've got the part of the council tax is paying
But
towards,
even with crime commission,
obviously
Jason,
they can
even I've been
patrol.
to the police station before where they've said to me, all we can afford is 2 officers out and about. 2 officers to look after a city at night time because we do not have the money to pay the police to send hundreds of people out onto our streets. They are literally down to their rock bottom. 2 people, we are talking about 2 people protecting a whole city in one night.
So
And
you're
now,
looking-
where does mental health first start? I know I talk about
Yeah,
mental
yeah.
health a lot.
What I'm saying there, Nick, is though, how many police officers go to Lincoln to patrol the game when there's a football game on? Where do you
Yeah.
find all those police officers?
Because there's the hooligans, isn't there? There aren't people there that just
Right.
like a football game.
Now,
They
where
like a
do the
fight.
come from? If they say they've only got 2 police officers, and that's all they can afford, where do they find the money to cover that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, Jason, but the thing is, where does mental health first rely on nowadays? It's not the hospital, it's not the mental health team, it's not the ambulance service, it's the police. The police are the first point of call for mental health. And and we're talking about mental health and pushing mental health forward, but we're just putting more responsibility onto policemen and police ladies, policemen and police ladies. And imagine being that person coming to an incident after you've had to dealt with an incident in town with just a couple of drunk people, turning up and there's somebody dead at the flat. How is that using our money to get more police out nowadays? There just isn't enough. We haven't got the money. And we are sinking. But it seems like we just seem to be passing on responsibility all the time, and it drives me insane. I just think we all need to be working together. Yes, local authorities need to be doing more, but we need to be supporting local authorities the best way we possibly can.
But I think we are, because if you look at some of the areas, like down near Sincil Bank, they've got, I can't remember, they've got a special name, but they're the Sincil Bank litter pickers. They're brilliant. Two of my granddaughters live on West Parade. The rubbish along there is awful because of the students and everything. I do litter picking with her every half term. We leave school with plastic gloves on, litter pickers and a black bag, and she's been in the Echo about it because she was so bothered. She's 8. And she said, look at all this rubbish. So we do our bit that way. And I'm quite happy to do that. But I'm not happy to go and try and move some fly tipping stuff, the big stuff, because what would we do with it?
But you see, that goes right back again to respect. Respect when you're younger, to your environment, to other people. If I saw somebody drop something outside the house, or if I saw a bit of paper on the front, I'd go out there and pick it up and put it in my bin. And you know, it's respect for your neighbourhood and everybody else around you, and for yourself.
But it's not just the younger generation as well, Rachel. It's your generation and above as well. We can't just say it's
I'm saying when you start off, respect comes back to, but when you taught respect, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the younger generation. I'm not saying, because younger generation, they grow up to be as old as me. So before you say it, so it's taught right from a very early age. And when you grow up, you know, you like your environment. You want to be in a certain place. You don't want to be surrounded by rubbish and muck from everybody else. So yeah, but fly tipping is different to litter dropping.
It is.
Litter bug. Completely.
You tell us, Rachel. You tell them. You absolutely tell them. Thank you for that topic. Make sure you have your say. Do you think we need to be taking more responsibilities in our towns and villages instead of passing it on to local authority? Or are you with the 3 Grinches that are on the panel that talk about actually it's more their responsibility and not us? Have your say. But let's go back to quickly light and fluffy. As you know, it's been International Women's Day this week, supporting all kinds of women and genders and every kind of woman possible. So I'm going to go around the panel quickly, briefly, and I'd like you to say a woman that has inspired you. Now, it could be a celebrity, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, but give me a woman that has completely and utterly inspired you. Let's go to you first, Jason.
A lady called Jo Peach.
And why? Tell us why.
She was my piano teacher at university, and a very good friend now. And she is amazing. The time she gives, the recitals she gives, the way she lived her life, and the amount she's given. And she was just so supportive when I was at university, and she just completely inspired me.
What about you, Rachel Penny? Has a woman inspired you in your life?
Well, yeah, well, my grandmother and my mother, they're both my inspirations, really. But there's so many people that have inspired me throughout my life. I surround myself with friends and oh gosh, there's so many. I couldn't really. I think mainly the person that is my mum. Really, she's she was wonderful, wonderful mother, but everybody's mum is their inspiration, I think. But there couldn't be one that I could actually choose or pick, really, I don't think.
What about you, Mrs. Craven? Who's been
I'm the
your
same.
inspiration?
I'm exactly the same as Rachel, my mum. My mum was on my own. She brought me up on her own. She worked, you know, very hard, and she gave me the values. And as we've been talking about tonight, and taught me about respect and being kind and do unto others as you would want them to do to you. So it's my mum.
There's been I think I'm a bit like Rachel, really. There's been a couple of people. There's been a friend that's been in my life since I was 2 years old, really. I will make her watch the show because I'm not sure she watches it. But Judy Shaw is an absolute massive one to me, who's been a surrogate mum for years, really. My mum, but also I've got to say, and I think, Sue, you're going to be a little bit shocked with this, and it's only recently been in the last year, and I'll make her watch it as well because she won't believe I've said it. But I think my sister.
Good.
I don't think I would ever say that. I don't think I would have ever said that 5-6 years ago. But ever since having my gorgeous, gorgeous nephew, who I'm just thankful for every single day, she has mellowed and changed as a woman. She used to be this right hot-headed girl that would just fly and turn into arguments, but she's mellowed so much as a mum. So she's really inspired me as inspiring woman. So yeah, I'm quite. She'll be shocked that I've said that. Hello, Katie Ward. She'll be absolutely shocked that I said that. But yeah, so let's go back onto our third subject then. North East Lincolnshire Council says it's doing everything it can to support the victims of the war in Ukraine. And a flag for the town hall has been ordered. Tributes were paid to the bravery of Ukraine people and the generosity of the North East Lincolnshire residents in supporting them. Several collections have been overwhelmed by donations for people affected by the war. I wanted to expand on this story a little bit more because that's just a brief inspect of the story. But the reason that the town hall felt pressure, as they put in this storyline, is because North East Lincolnshire were doing nothing for Ukraine until the North East Lincolnshire people started to shout and basically say, what are we doing? So, Sue, with Ukraine heavy on our hearts, has it been heavy on you? And do you think one day we will all live in peace and harmony?
It's a lovely, lovely ideal, but I'm afraid we won't. The world will never be totally at peace. You know, there's been, we know this, fighting and wars and famine and drought, and it'll continue. And I think we've just got to help as much as we can. And what worries me more than anything is, I mean, everybody's the same. I know I can't watch the 10 o'clock news. I watch in the day or the next morning because it's just terrible. I just feel for them so badly. But, you know, it's also now, what really worries me is with all this blooming nuclear as well, power that they've got. And it worries me. And I think, no, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't think we never will. We'll never have total peace in the world.
No. Do you agree, ladies and gents?
Well, no, I agree. There's always going to be some dictator, somebody wanting power, someone gone a little bit mad, like there is that you know. But for I can't understand why. Well, I can understand why it all happened. It's just greed. It's complete greed and power, being power mad. But 10 million people have fled that country already, you know. And I do find it strange, though, that I was reading up the other day, but not many refugees have wanted to go to America. Funny that, isn't it? You know, the smallest country here. How many visas have been issued for 150,000 or something? Visas have been issued for people to come here, and we're giving up our homes We're giving up our rooms in our homes for people, because that's the nature of the UK people. You know, we want to help.
But moving forward from that then, when we talk about leaders and stuff like that, Jason, when it comes to big decision making about going to war and stuff like that, do you think the leaders are thinking about victory over war more than death and people?
I think they're thinking about what they can get from it rather than the situation it causes to both their own country and the country that they invade or go to war with. I mean, an awful lot of times, the countries that end up going to war are countries that are depending on fighting for their own freedoms, aren't they? If we look, I mean, this is Ukraine. The Ukrainian people are fighting for their land. They are a sovereignty of their own. They didn't want war.
No.
The majority of young people in Russia didn't want war, and even the soldiers who have gone to war do not believe what they were being told. They don't believe it either. They said we were lied to. So I think people, I feel that the leaders sometimes just do not think about the people that they are sending to war. I mean, if you look at the situation at the moment with Russia, he has sent thousands of his troops to their death for a war that they didn't realize what was going to happen because they were lied to when they went. And unfortunately, we have these countries around the world where their leaders lie to the people, and that is all that they know, because that is the way it's. I mean, China do it. They won't allow this, that, and the other. It's all state news agencies. Russia has closed down all the liberation media, so that they are controlling the narrative, and they're saying the hospital, the shopping centres, the maternity hospital they bombed. They're saying it was Ukraine who bombed their own hospital, because they're trying to make the narrative that they didn't do anything wrong. And you're not allowed in Russia to say it's a war.
No.
The legislators have to say it's a special invasion or a military invasion.
A military exercise.
Can you all join me though in the heart shape, because we send a lot of love to Ukraine at the moment. We're sending it right over to you, and we're thinking every single day about each and every one of you. We hope it leads to a very much better life than you're living right now. That brings us to the end of the show. Doesn't it go that fast, that hour? Doesn't it just fly by? So you get Sue on a soapbox and that's 15 minutes of the show gone.
That's why you don't have me on more.
Can you thank my panel for this evening? She's only got one name because she thinks she's that important. That's Adele. Thanks for joining us this evening. Also, the guy that's always on the way to Norwich, that's Jason Lambert. And with the link and the wink, we've got Rachel Penny. Join us next week as we've got a brand new show with brand new panelists. Thank you for letting us keep you entertained this Tuesday night. Remember to have your say, because your say is just and sometimes even more important than ours. So get on the box and make sure you say what you think what we've talked about this evening. It's been amazing and incredible, and we've had incredible debate tonight. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.